In today's video, I'm going to cover the whole entire market in terms of Dow Jones, Nasdaq, and S&P 500, including the economic calendar. Now, I do post these videos daily on my X and YouTube channel, so I highly encourage you to double check the latest video so you can have the most up-to-date information. And if you find this video beneficial towards the end, consider dropping a like. It does help out the channel, so thank you in advance for that. Now, before I get into the price movements in terms of resistance and support levels and how the market will be moving, I'm going to go over the economic calendar. And for today's trading day, even though we did close, a little bit of a recap. PCE inflation numbers previously was 2.8%. Market was expecting 2.6, and the market got the 2.6. And for Monday, July 1st, 2024, at 9:45 a.m., we have S&P final U.S. manufacturing PMI. At 10 a.m., we have construction spending as well as ISM manufacturing. Now, if we go back to the charts, I'm going to go over the S&P 500 first, specifically the SPY, which is an ETF for the S&P 500. And the general movement based off the MAC lines for the S&P 500 and Nasdaq is potentially further downside. The Dow Jones is kind of showing more of consolidation based off the MAC lines. Now, this could be outweighed and moved regardless based off the mega caps like Nvidia or Apple. If they end up having, for example, a great day, even though the S&P and Nasdaq based off MACD lines are showing further downside, they could generally, in a way, move the market. Now, one thing to note, by the way, I am not a professional, so please do own due diligence and research before buying and selling. Now, in terms of the movements, for example, the PCE numbers, we did spike up in the early part of the day, back to the almost previously all-time high. The all-time high previously was about 515 some change. If you're counting the pre-market, if after hour or during the actual trading hours, it was 515 some change on the lower end, and we spiked up just pretty much around the same level of 515 some change in the early part of the day. It started trickling down, and then the levels were potentially could be looking at support. Mind you, we closed at $544.22. The first level of support potentially could be around the 542 and some change that we did see earlier today too as well. But we could come back to it because we've seen consolidation, support, and resistance within that level, give or take. So general sense, 542 and some change. And then the next level basically ranges between 540 and some change to 538 and some change. And then it goes to the gap up level of the 537 and some change based off the moving average right about here, with potential mixed in with the resistance levels and a little bit of the gap up. So 537. But ultimately, for the S&P 500, in my opinion, based off the SPY, I think we're going to come back down to this level potentially if the MACD lines hold true, which is basically about 531 and some change. We've seen multiple times resistance levels right about here, plus a little bit of support, somewhat of a nick support right here, and then support right there, and then like a little bit of a nick support, but it didn't fully hit it, if that makes sense. Now, that's the 531 and some change. Will it go lower? Potentially, but for the time being, I think that will hold us. Now, to the upside, if you think it's going to go up to the upside, we do have resistance, give or take about the 546 and some change on the higher end. And then we do have the next level being about 548 and some change, and then back to the all-time high of 550 and some change, if you think it's going to go up. And currently at this moving average, it's about 545. So that's going to be a little bit of resistance like we've seen in the after hours right about here, 545 and some change, which coincides with the moving average as well. Now for QQQ, which is the ETF for Nasdaq, it's a little bit pretty much the same / different. So we did almost approach the basically almost actually exact same thing. Pre-market, we had an all-time high, but the actual all-time high is about give or take 487 and some change, and we hit that today about 487 and some change. We closed at $479. Again, all-time high of 486 or 487 and some change, give or take. Dropped down, headed to the moving averages. And the question is, if we follow suit of the downside, potentially based off the MAC line, the next support levels $478 and some change. And then the next level is give or take about $474 and some change. And the way I'm basing that off of is for the most part, the average movement right about here. It's not perfect, but 478 or sorry about that. In case I said 478, $474 and some change. $474 and some change. That 478 was from this price point right about here, which you could see support right about here, and a support nick hit a little bit right about there. So 478 could be active support, and then the next level would be 474 and some change as support, give or take. Now, the next level is, these are two of the most important levels in my opinion. We have this upward trend resistance line, dates back since 2010, 5-year chart right about here, zoom out. since 2010, upward trend resistance level, you can see a bunch of times hit it, and then 2020 to 2022 broke through but bounced off at support, and then we got back underneath it and hit as resistance, and we're headed, basically we're on the upside, but the question is, will it hold true? So what happened is we pretty much consolidated during that time and then spiked up, broke through it, but we could be heading back down to it, and that level is, for the most part, $472 and some change if you think it's going to hit it right away. Again, the longer it takes, the higher the low will be. And then the next level is the moving average, about $468 and some change, which coincides with this consolidation / spike up, gap up in a way. So it's just kind of perfect. To be honest, that probably will hold us for sure. It could be a false break down to the downside, and it could be a bear trap potentially, and then just spike up from based off the moving average, and then break through again that 2010 upward trend resistance line, and then we could see more all-time highs coming through after that. Now to the upside, we do have resistance. Obviously, the first resistance level is pretty much $482 and some change. Then the next level is give or take about the 485 and some change, but ultimately the 487 and some change, going back to the almost range of the all-time high / spike ups that we've seen multiple times across. That's for the Nasdaq / QQQ ETF for Nasdaq. Now for the Dow Jones, again, the narrative is a little bit more of consolidation. We have this upward trend resistance line dating back since 2021, and this upward trend support level dating back since April of 2024. And the consolidation ranges, we did close at 39,118 points, but these moving averages could kind of help us bounce off 38,840 points, give or take. But the consolidation price point is between roughly, give or take, about 38,400, 38,500 range to the 39,600, 650 range, give or take. Now, the first level that we could drop down to, because it's obviously not going to drop down to too quick, is about $38,700 points, or 38,700 points. And then to the upside, we've seen resistance at the 39,250 points, give or take. And then obviously it would be the 400 and 500, but I think pretty much it's going to stay within this range a little bit for the time being. The exact price points is not exactly necessarily the easiest to dictate, but besides those ranges, the bigger ranges that I gave within the between ranges, those are predominantly where we have kept bouncing back and forth from. That's basically it for today's video. Thanks again for watching. I do appreciate it. If you did find it helpful, consider dropping a like. It does help the channel, so thank you so much for that. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Peace.